Then the next morning she called me about 10 o'clock or so and said that she would like to see me, that we had to talk. And so I met her out at the Officers Club that morning. And she was already there when I arrived at the Officers Club. She was very upset, still crying, very hysterical. Then she told me what happened about going into this room. These doctors were there, and there was some 2 hospital gurneys there with the crash bags. One crash bag was 2 very small mutilated bodies. The other one, there was a very small body in a crash bag, but hadn't been mutilated as much as the others. And she told me the reason what they wouldn't let her out because they wanted her to write down what they were examining. And that's what she was doing. And they all became very ill. They said that the smell, and it was a very toxic smell, and they just couldn't breathe and get their breath, and they had to get out.
This is Hangar 84. And this is where the craft and the bodies were actually brought into this hangar. But there was a lot of activity in this area here. And inside the hangar, right above on top, there was this large spotlight which was shining down on the craft, and also the bodies were laid out. There were 5 of them. And there was a cordon of military police around the area to keep people getting too close.
There were other witnesses to the strange events at Hangar 84.
I had security clearance, so I told him I came over there to pick up Lieutenant Governor Joe Montoya. He was at the hangar.
Joe Montoya, Lieutenant Governor of New Mexico, was at the base campaigning for re-election. Outside Hangar 84, Ruben Anaya was waiting to pick him up.
So the APs just lead us over there, you know, and then, but they didn't park close to the hangar. They parked about a half a block away. And I says, what the hell's going on, you know? And then, when they went toward I moved a little closer, and that's when the big hangar was open, and Senator Montoya came out. He says, let's get the hell out of here. He says.
When he come out of there, he come all scared, and he said he hit. They saw 2 little men with the big heads, but one was alive, still alive. They had him laying down on the floor, and he come out and told us the boss was there, and one was still alive.
There were other witnesses with strange reports of aliens. Fireman Dan Dwyer told his daughter Frankie what he had seen.
He said it did not come from this world. Did not look like anything he had ever seen. And he said there were little people out there. And Mother asked him what he meant by little people, and he said they weren't human people, but they were little people. He said there were 2 that were already dead when they got there, and they were put into body bags. And I don't know if the one that was still alive had put them into the bags or if someone assisted at the time. There was one that was still alive and was walking around.
At the sheriff's office, Sheriff Wilcox's wife later told her daughter what had really happened.
She said that there was a flying saucer, and that they even found some bodies by it, and one of them was alive, and that the Army, Air Force had come and threatened my father and his family to not mention anything at all about it.
According to Frank Kaufman, the debris and bodies were flown to Air Force Intelligence Headquarters at Wright Field, and another consignment was sent to Andrews Air Force Base in Washington. How high did it go?
All the way to the president, I was told. President Truman.
The fact is, there is no proof, evidence, documentation, physical evidence of any sort to prove that your story is true.
That's right. You have to accept it. I mean, you either believe it or you don't. I mean, see.
there is no independent evidence to corroborate Frank Kaufman's story. Proving his involvement in clandestine operations, he claims, would be in breach of his military oath. The lack of tangible evidence has been a consistent feature of the Roswell incident. Then earlier this year, a sensational film allegedly shot by an American military cameraman appeared in London.
Our cameraman says that the crash happened in June. He was sent down to White Sands on the 2nd of June 1947, and that they'd spent a week and a half clearing up the area. He also explains that when they first arrived at the site, the area had been cordoned off, and that no one went anywhere near the vehicle. The ground surrounding the vehicle was hot. He said the creatures were all laying by the side, holding onto these oblong boxes which they wouldn't let go. And after a few hours, when the military moved in, the instruction was to move away all the loose debris and the creatures.
Ray Santilli claims he negotiated for 2 years to buy this film. He's the only person who knows the identity of the cameraman who shot it. According to Santilli, the poor quality is explained by the circumstances under which it was photographed.
When he tells you that the camera had no zoom facility, when he tells you that he was wearing the same outfit as the surgeons, and when he says that these cameras had a fixed focus, and that when they moved in, that then there was no way of controlling the focus, and it was possible. He was steaming up inside the costumes, and he was trying to operate the camera to the best of his ability. You just have to accept it. The other question is, well, why isn't it a fixed camera? Why isn't it a camera fixed above looking at the body? But then his argument is that, well, surgeons were bending over it all the time, and the only way you can get to see these things is by moving around. And the camera that he detailed as using, we checked at the museum, and it's a handheld camera.
Despite repeated requests, Ray Santilli has been unable to arrange a meeting between us and the cameraman. So far, we have no real proof of his existence. The American Air Force categorically denied the existence of spacecraft and aliens, but mounting pressure from the public and a determined congressman forced the Pentagon to launch their own investigation. In July 1994, their official report admitted for the first time that the original weather balloon story was in fact a lie, designed to cover up what had really crashed at Roswell, a balloon of a different kind. This is film of Project Mogul, a top-secret project designed to detect sound waves from Soviet atomic tests. The Air Force report states that Project Mogul offers the most likely explanation for the Roswell incident.
I suspect that our Flight 4 on the 4th of June was probably the source of the debris that the Ranger found. It was not recovered, and the record indicates that the B-17 abandoned tracking it while it was still airborne, and it's my memory that it was over a little town called Arabella, just north of Capitan and about 17 miles from where some debris was later found.
Curiously, an examination of the actual flight logs of the time reveals that there is no record of the existence of Flight Number 4 on the 4th of June. The one the Air Force claims explains the Roswell incident. Moore says no records exist as no data was entered for unsuccessful flights, yet other flights that were unsuccessful are clearly documented. Discrepancies such as these have led many to doubt the Air Force's insistence that Project Mogul is in fact the answer to the Roswell mystery. On Capitol Hill, the representative for New Mexico, Congressman Stephen Schiff, is suspicious of the number of different explanations offered over the years.
We've had 3 different explanations from the military about what crashed. The first explanation is it was a flying disc, meaning flying saucer in today's terminology. They changed that and said we made a mistake. It wasn't a flying disc, it was a weather balloon. I still find it amazing that the United States top bomber wing with the only wing that was eligible to carry nuclear weapons at that particular time, would not know a weather balloon from a flying saucer, but apparently somebody didn't, according to them. So we then had the second explanation that this was a weather balloon, and we now have the third explanation that this was part of a highly classified radiation detection experiment. So we have three separate explanations as to what crashed, but no dispute that something crashed.
If it wasn't a balloon, what did crash at Roswell?